As a thriller writer, my mind really never stops working. It's if I'm driving to work, or if I'm in the shower, or I'm going for a walk, I'm always thinking of ideas. I just want to talk briefly about AI. AI is something that's obviously been in the news a lot, and I'll tell you, as a from a thriller's writer's perspective, there's so many storylines that are in my head, and they're they essentially, when I look at these conspiracy thrillers I weave in my books. When I look at AI, it's a frightening idea of what the impact AI can have on us. I think that there's lots of things in the news about how AI is making life simpler. It's allowing people to be more productive. All these different sort of things that are being put out there, typically by the folks that are wanting AI just to basically run unfettered and have no regulation. And obviously they're talking about no regulation because we don't want to be, quote, at a competitive disadvantage with other nation states that are basically pursuing AI. Obviously, for security purposes, AI is important to basically have in our arsenal for just to basically have some of those capabilities. But I think we need to look at the impact of what it means for humanity. And I know I'm not just talking about like a Terminator type scenario where what AI can do. I'm talking about like from the immediate standpoint. I think if you look at the engines that have to run AI, we're talking about massive data centers. And data centers are basically what they do to our energy grid in terms of the energy they need. They are power hogs of unfathomable levels. They are essentially putting a strain on our energy grid, which is not being really fully understood. The other thing that probably is a more frightening aspect is what it does to our water supply. And obviously water is needed for humanity to survive. Well, these data centers take incredible amounts of cooling to basically keep them from overheating and these data centers running. And so you can just look at the impacts of communities. I think there's tons of videos out there that you can watch in terms of reporters that have been on the ground talking about being next to different communities or next to different data centers. There's also noise pollution. Noise pollution, what does that really mean? Well, I think you just need to look at in Texas, where there was a data center that was put up by Elon Musk, and or a company that he owned, and essentially the community, the surrounding community, what it actually did to the health of those individuals, because the noise, the levels of sound that is transmitted just over short distances from data centers is basically something that is can kill animals. It can cause all sorts of ailments in people, because the human is not meant to basically be next to a sound that looks like a jet engine being done. And this sound is not, that's the thing about these data centers. They put off a frequency of sound that is extremely high, but yes, you can tolerate it for short periods. But living a mile away from a data center is going to basically cut your life probably in half. And I think you can just look at some of the videos out, the impacts of what I'm talking about. So that's some of the immediate impacts of these data centers. They are essentially harming the environment at an incredible rate. And the fact what they can do with our water supply, some of these drought communities, these communities that have to deal with drought, it is putting this incredible burden on the water supply. And water is finite, and that's something we need to realize. And when we're basically welcoming AI into our lives, we are essentially impacting the survival of humanity itself. And I'm not talking Terminator, coming down. I'm just talking about water resources, and other, other resources that are being sucked up by AI centers. Now, let's also take the fact that AI has the ability to basically replace, jobs, whole scale. It can have a decimation of different jobs in different industries, because AI can do all those jobs that entry-level position workers could do. I'm talking about high-paying jobs. I'm talking about people that came out of law school that suddenly they're not going to be able to get jobs, because all of that case law study that they may do at a law firm is suddenly, they don't need. We don't need those those lower-rank attorneys, because it can be done by AI. Likewise for accounting, you don't need those folks, because all of that can be done by AI. When you suddenly basically decimate these industries and have basically all these people that are coming out in the workforce, and you don't give them a chance to basically get their foothold in the door and become a contributing member of society, you're talking about essentially whole scale impacts to the employment of folks. And this is not something that's happening in 1 week. This is going to happen over the coming years. And what we're going to see is we're going to see essentially what a lot of these big tech companies already know. They know this is going to destroy millions, hundreds of millions of jobs are going to be gone. And you know what their white paper analysis says about this? Oh, we're just giving them basic welfare. We'll give folks a living wage, because their jobs will be gone, but the intention is AI is going to bring all those riches. Well, those riches aren't going to everyone else. It's going to the very few people at the top that will hold all the purse strings. And you better believe it. Once they've done all that, do you think they're really going to basically give a stipend to folks? And do folks want to basically have that scenario where suddenly no longer do you have a purpose, of a job that makes sense? This is what our reality is. So those are just musings of a guy driving to work and thinking about AI. I know it frightens the heck out of me. So I think we need to wake up and realize, is AI something we really want out there? Good talking to you.